On and off between 1962 and 1982, Gene Rayburn served as the host of various versions of the classic TV game show Match Game. In between, he got his start in radio, worked with Steve Allen on The Tonight Show, appeared on Broadway, acted in TV dramas, and much more. Yet through it all, he credited his success to personality, above everything else. Gene Rayburn was born Eugene Peter Jeljenic in Christopher, Illinois, on December 22, 1917, the youngest of two children. Gene lost his father while he was an infant, resulting in the family moving to Chicago where his mother met and married Milan Rubisa. It wasn't a happy childhood for Gene. He always referred to his mother as Crazy Mary, and his recollection was his stepfather was sort of a path of least resistance kind of guy. He did whatever Gene's mom told him to do because that was the easiest way to live. On top of that, Gene's brother was killed in a traffic accident when Gene was still a child, and his mother actually blamed him for the death, which is something he had to live with. He graduated from Lindblom Technical High School and attended Knox College, where he acted in plays. Gene really wanted to pursue a career in theater and, specifically, he was actually interested in opera, of all things. But he never really got started with a career in opera. He had trouble paying for the lessons. It was the Great Depression and money was just hard to come by. Moving to New York, he spent 3 years working as a page and a tour guide at NBC Studios at 30 Rockefeller Plaza in New York. This led to his gaining some announcing work at various radio stations, which played a role in him changing his name to Gene Rayburn. How I became Gene Rayburn is a little story in itself, he told the news pilot of San Pedro, California in 1973. Gene's morning drive time radio show initially saw him teamed up with Jack LaScully in a series called Anything Goes. Much more successful was his being teamed with Dee Finch on WNEW's Rayburn and Finch. Both shows are credited with creating the format that many morning drive radio shows would follow in the future. They would also end up hosting an evening edition titled Night Shift with Rayburn and Finch. Noted the Democrat and Chronicle in 1950. By 1952, the team of Rayburn and Finch split up when Gene was wooed away by NBC, where he started hosting his own show. They got caught up in a bidding war, and NBC wanted to give them a shot at the big time. But what ended up happening was Gene signed his contract on the same day that Dee Finch was supposed to sign, but Finch got cold feet and he stayed where he was instead. So Gene had to go to NBC as a single act. Flying solo in that role just didn't work. But he had signed a long-term contract with NBC and they had to justify the money somehow. So after his radio show failed, they were starting up a new project starring Steve Allen called Tonight, a late-night talk and variety show. He also made what he felt was a major career mistake when Steve Allen offered to give him an opening to do more of his own material on the show, and at the time Gene actually refused, feeling that Steve was the star of the show, not him. It was at this time that he began his long association with game show producers Mark Goodson and Bill Todman by hosting Make the Connection, Choose Up Sides, Do Re Mi, and a daytime version of Tic Tac Doe. Minor success. The band was originally off stage, he continues, and hidden behind a wall. Gene moved the band onto the stage so that he had people to talk to there. So Gene began putting more people on stage for him to work with and he turned it into this fun, freewheeling comedy game where the game was kind of secondary to his own antics. And he turned that show into a minor success that managed to stay on the air a few years. In 1962 along comes Password, and Goodson and Todman had a business model where as soon as they had a hit show on their hands, they would introduce rip-offs of it, which was kind of a brilliant strategy. The idea was to stay ahead of the competition by ripping off your own stuff. Despite the fact that Match Game ended in 1969, Dick DeBartolo was kept on the payroll in the belief that the show would be back and was assigned to different game shows in the meantime. Sure enough, After the success of the Hollywood Squares, March Game was revived in 1973 in a new format. In the 1970s, Match Game just became a classic example of everything working. That version of Match Game ran until 1979 on CBS and then enjoyed 3 more years in first-run syndication. Amazingly, there were plans to bring Match Game back yet again in 1989 with Gene once again hosting. But things took a strange, and sad, turn around that time when Entertainment Tonight, in what used to be nightly sign-offs for the show, announced birthdays and noted that Gene was 69 years old. On top of all of that, Gene ran into financial difficulties in the 1980s, largely due to poor financial investments. Additionally, he couldn't get access to his pension fund through AFTRA because the people in charge couldn't figure out who he was. Right to the end, Gene, who enjoyed his involvement with various game shows and the success they brought him, also felt frustrated that he was never able to achieve success as an actor. In 1961 he had perhaps his greatest opportunity to prove himself as an actor, by hitting the Broadway stage as the replacement for Dick Van Dyke, who was heading to television for his own show, in the musical Bye Bye Birdie. The biggest challenge he faced was the fact that years earlier he'd fractured his left leg in multiple places in a skiing accident, and the show required extensive dance sequences. He continued trying to act, having done Robert Montgomery Presents in 1956, Kraft Television Theater in 1957, Here's Boomer, 1980, Aloha Paradise, 1981, Fantasy Island, 1982, 3 episodes of Love Boat, 1979 to 1982, Riptide, 1985, and the soap opera One Life to Live. In his personal life, Gene married Helen Tickner in 1940 and remained with her until her death in October 1996. They had 1 child together, a daughter named Lynn. His last TV appearance was in the form of a 1998 interview with Access Hollywood for the 25th anniversary of March Game, 73. Sadly, Gene would suffer from dementia and he would die of congestive heart failure on November 29, 1999, at the age of 81. A month before his passing, he managed to appear in person to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences.